All right, Junia and I are here at the theater.
What's up?
Ready to do Joker 2. Junia, thoughts real quick beforehand going in.
Super open. I do not have a whole lot of expectations. I know it's going to be really artsy and stuff. And let's face it, Lady Gaga is a great actress. So I'm excited to see, I've heard a lot of really beautiful things about her characterization in American Horror Story?
American Hustle?
No, American Horror Story.
Oh, okay.
The TV show?
Yeah.
Apparently she did an amazing job in that.
I forgot she was.
Yeah, she was in it. And, I don't know, I've seen her act in other things. I think she does a good job. I'm excited to see her in the role of Harley. I know it's a different role. So, I don't know, I'm very open.
I'm open because, one, and I've said this a billion times, Joker, the movie, was never a comic book accurate story telling.
No, it's an artsy interpretation of the Joker. Let's be real.
Let's be real. It was a movie about mental health, and they were like, we can't sell this and make a bunch of money. So if we call it Joker, about the Joker, it'll do well. And, I mean, if you take that movie, you strip away just the words, Joker, Gotham, Wayne, and replace them with just generic terms, New York City.
You wouldn't think that it was the Joker.
Mental hospital, not Arkham. Call him the clown.
Right.
You're like, okay, you wouldn't come out like that. Felt like a comic book movie. It's not.
No.
It was a big scam, and they made $1 billion. So, Todd Phillips, he's doing his movie, whatever he wants it to be for number 2. Once again, just using enough loose terminology and imagery to get by. And the fact is, the first movie, which we will be watching and commentating on, is all about an unreliable narrator who has mental delusions. So you pretty much can do whatever you want with mental delusions in the story. So I have no expectations because I'm not sitting here waiting for it to be like this comic portrayal truth of the characters. I'm just kind of like, it's going to be a movie that they're trying to scam us on again, but will I be entertained? And the whole musical aspect, let's see what that means, because
it's probably going to be very minimal.
I'm like, is it going to be minimal? I don't know, because people called La La Land a musical, and I didn't feel like that was a musical.
No, it's really not, though. It's not like your classic musical.
And I think that's the case.
That's probably the vibe that's going to be happening here, is very similar to La La Land, if that's what we're calling it.
And that's what my thought process is, And I mean, they talked about music playing a big part in the first one. And I like the first one well enough, but I'm not like, Joaquin's the best. No, he's not the best. If Batman showed up, he'd legally beat the shit out of Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, 110%.
Like, he's not even smart enough to even, do anything to trip Batman.
Right.
Okay, he's not a genius.
We're not seeing that yet. Maybe we'll see it here. Maybe they lean into that more here. I don't think they will, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. I said, I'm super open.
I'm just open to whatever, and we will be back when it's... All right, Junia and Tyler in the car right after the movie. Junia, opening thoughts.
Okay. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think. I don't really have a whole lot of strong opinions about the movie one way or the other. I'm kind of in this weird neutral zone, and I really don't know fully what I was watching. What was the arc of the story? I guess I just feel like there's so much there that didn't come together for me.
It's pretty much what I expected it to be.
Yeah?
I mean, I wasn't looking for Todd Phillips to lean into comics, and build strong story that way.
Not at all.
I wasn't expecting this to be the Joker. I mean, they've said before that maybe Arthur's the one who inspires the real Joker.
Which kind of seems like what was happening.
And which kind of seems like what happened at the end. Which I kind of wish, just for shits and giggles, they would have got Cameron, is it Monaghan? I can't remember how to be the guy that, at the end. Because I think that'd be just kind of funny. And as far as the arc of the story, I think it's Arthur. In the sense, they try to wrestle with the idea he's two people, right? He's Arthur and then he's Joker. And technically they're the same. It's just kind of his Joker's a performance. And he just kind of at the end admits he's just Arthur. It's just that's who he is. And that Joker is not real. It was just... And he gives up on himself kind of thing. Now, parts of it I'd like to watch again to see if they're trying to play any kind of tricks with what's real and what's not besides the obvious. Much like in the original, there's things that are in that movie that make you question what's real and what's not.
Right.
Besides the obvious, like, him with his girlfriend, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But like time and stuff and what's really going on. And in this film, I mean, I'm more interested in actually seeing what Harley's story is.
Yeah, like, all of that was extremely vague. Also, like, you never saw any indication of her parents, yet they talked about as if her parents were still alive,
that she came
that she
from
lived
money.
with them, that she came from money. Yeah, all of this stuff, and it's just kind of like, there's nothing that shows any part of her life at all. So it almost leaves you into a question of, like, we know that she's not a figment of his imagination, but how far or how much of she is a figment of his imagination? Am I making sense?
Yeah,
The
like,
words aren't coming out right.
I feel like she was real the whole time and everything, but like, once he didn't really want to admit that he was Joker, like that was something inside, like that's who he was kind of thing, she wanted nothing to do with him.
Right.
And it's interesting because we get that scene where it looks like she's putting a gun to her head. I mean, she is putting a gun to her, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we see her standing on the stairs and she cut her hair and everything. And now I want to go back and watch the trailers because there was a couple of shots from the trailers that I remember that were not in this movie. One was her in the elevator and the elevator door closing, not parroting, but like being the same shot from the first movie with him.
Yeah.
The other was Arthur
them dancing down the stairs.
Yes, them dancing down the stairs.
Yeah.
Because if you see, like, she gets up in the court when he admits that it is no Joker, it's just Arthur, and walks out, and she told him she was pregnant, and was that true or not? I mean, I take it as yes, because they don't really give us anything that says that no.
Right.
But we know she's not actually reliable in some of the stuff she says, too.
Those are the things that are just kind of, like, left up in the air that I'm like, what is going on here? Like, there's no solidity to it. I feel, the movie feels very ungrounded. That's the best way I can describe it.
I mean, like, ungrounded when it should be grounded. Because I don't mind the singing and stuff. Because, one, she sings out loud. Okay, you sing out loud. And when you're in a good mood, have fun because you're a singer. So that, to me, doesn't feel far-fetched.
Right.
The musical-esque numbers are all in his head.
Yeah.
So, they work because it's in his head.
Right.
So I wasn't being, taught to believe that. I mean, what sucks is he never had the green hair or anything like that in the current or...
I mean, his followers did.
Yeah, his followers did, but he never, went full Joker in reality.
Right. Maybe that's kind of the point, too, is, that he couldn't fully embody it because part of him was too human. And that's, the connection that we got between him and Mr. Puddles was, Mr. Puddles brought out some of the human in him, in Arthur. And it makes me wonder, I don't know. Do I want another movie like this? Probably not. I'm good with the two that we got. But the young guy at the end, and I don't know if you want to talk about that now or not. Can I spoil it?
Yeah.
Okay. The young guy at the end who kills him, and who then after he kills him, is laughing and stuff, and he cuts his mouth and whatnot. That seems like, if you watch throughout the movie, it's kind of an unnerving thing. You see him in the background, but he's always watching Arthur. Always. In every single freaking scene, he is watching Arthur if you see him. I don't know if you paid attention to that or not.
Yeah.
So, to me, I already kind of knew that that's what was going to happen. That he was going to end up killing him. And I almost kind of feel like he takes on the persona of what we would consider to be the Joker. He was like it just felt more like that.
Yeah.
Because we got the insanity of the Joker at the end. We got the true gruesome, you know, Joker at the very, very end. So I think it's interesting. I don't know.
I feel like
I wish there was more.
Yeah, I feel like there was more story that we just didn't get. Like, and I wasn't even looking for like more of the comic tie-in. I mean, look, I've said it again and again. Like, they're not trying to be comic. Like, they even said the state of New York. You know, they're trying to just say Gotham is in New York.
But they had Harvey in there. They had Harvey Dent in there.
Let's not disrespect Harvey Dent.
And they
like
did.
They did.
I know.
They just wanted to use his name, and then it makes me mad because then if you're gonna do that, then why not use other names of characters?
But you see that they screwed his face.
Just enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's just disrespectful.
Yeah.
To the character, because like, okay, look. It almost makes me want to watch the two films like almost side by side in a sense, because the way they did Harvey is kind of like the way they did the Waynes, where we're gonna have them walk down an alley, and then a clown gunman's gonna follow them, you know, and you're like, oh no, but like there was no mention of the Waynes in this movie. There was a shot of a building with Wayne on the side.
Well, that's weird though. Like we had that in the first one, and without any of that being present, it feels disjointed. Disconnected.
Like there wasn't even a line like when they were doing all the media talking about the trial of like, because they talk about the riots and the you know and stuff like that caused the death of mayoral candidate Thomas Wayne and his wife, leaving behind their son Bruce. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
Something like that. I was happy that they had at least Mr. Puddles and the faux girlfriend played by Zazie Beetz, can't remember her name, back from the first movie just to build that continuity.
Right.
We don't have an idea of how much time happened in between them, you know, but they said they made a TV movie. I was kind of see if there was going to be a more meta commentary, like we would see clips or something from that TV movie that they made. Much like, you know, how in Scream 2 we see clips of Stab, the movie that was made, you know what I'm saying? Something like that.
That connects the dots.
That just kind of could have been interesting. So I leaned over at you at one point and I said, what I found interesting was they dropped the line that Harley, you know, her parents have money and stuff. And what I found interesting is she moves around a lot. Like, she got to see Arthur there in the cell at the end. There was one chair left in the courtroom for her.
Yeah, it was weird.
And that she got to sit in the courtroom. You know, knowing who she is. I found that interesting because all the people outside and even people in the court standing up. And I feel like they really set it up when we see Arthur take his medicine. Then the next time, the way he looks at it, as if some pill or something's missing or something's different in his medicine cup. Because then later Harley says, stop taking your medicine. He's like, I already have. And the way he looks at the nurse and kind of smiles. So the idea that maybe Harley was influencing somehow, like so he could be off his medicine to start going back to being Joker.
Right.
And like you asked me, do you think she's a plant? And I kind of was waiting for it to be something where she actually worked for the state or for the hospital and was in there manipulating things to get a certain outcome.
Right.
And she was more of the orchestrator of all of this. Like the everything was all her at the end. Or there was an even more of a twist that she was really with that other dude who ended up killing Arthur or something, you know, like...
Which I was really hoping for that at the very end. I was like, man, that would be cool. Like, if we saw something where, like, she broke him out or something like that, you know, or good job. Like, I don't know, like something.
And we saw, like, she was more of the evil one.
Yeah.
And everything, and she was using Arthur. Because what I did think was interesting, the newspaper that has, like, a mugshot of her. But yet she supposedly checked herself in.
Weird stuff.
In and out, you know, on her own free will.
Right.
So why would they have, like, a mugshot looking of her?
Well, the only thing that I can think of is when she stole that TV. I don't know.
But then she would have had to get arrested and, like, and all that, and...
She could be, you know,
but that
out on bail if her parents... We have all of these, like, holes We have all of these holes, all of these questions, all of these open spaces where it's like, what the hell is actually happening here?
That's my problem, is don't create these open spaces for a character that you're trying to make and then not do anything with it.
That's the weird part.
Not really explore that character.
Because I feel like you're taking us away from like an art piece, which I guess is what they're trying to create here, you know, and more into this, like, I don't know, you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard to make it an art piece.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I mean, it does, and like,
make an avant-garde film, sure. I'm all for that stuff, but like, I don't know, also make it make sense.
Yeah, give it, and
especially if you're attaching that moniker and that world. Like, that is such an established world. Like,
if you don't want to give us more with Harley, then don't give us all the details about stuff, because then you make her like she went to master, she has master's degree, this. Well, then it's like, okay, you're making her more interesting, but
we're not going to tell you anything about her.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you anything about her, instead of other just seeing that she's more psychotic because she's in love with his fantasy person, and that's who she wants to see and be a part of or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know, it just kind of fell flat. I'm kind of like interested, like, why would you show us the scene of her putting a gun towards her head? Like, unless there was a scene and let they read. But even then, like, why would you edit that in? Because I was like, that seems like she was reenacting certain things almost like she had seen in the movie about Arthur or something. Because it goes into where it looks like she's in his old apartment.
Yeah.
Like, she was so obsessed that she was living in the old apartment or something. Like, why not show us that she was a craze-obsessed fan of Joker? Like, she was living there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And because her getting ready kind of is like when he was getting ready.
Right.
You know, like I said, they cut that elevator scene of her. And everything that kind of felt like it was building to her. And one of my biggest things about this film is I felt like it was a little too long.
I agree, especially for the content that we received.
If it had been more intriguing things that were going on, building these characters, sure. And like, there's just certain parts where they're singing. I'm like, you could have snip that down and just made it a little bit more.
It was there. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna bluntly say this. It was kind of boring at times. Like, kind of not exciting.
And I think because you're kind of waiting for more to happen, you know? You're kind of like, all right, what's going to happen next? You know, because you don't know. And then I mean, I'd watch it again, and I'll buy it because I'd like to dissect it, you know, and watch it because I don't think it's a horrible movie.
Right.
But, all right, we're pulling back at the house. Okay, so we're back in the house. We're going to give quick final thoughts. Junia and I we rewatched the trailers, the 2 for original Joker and then 2 for Joker 2, because the one that I pointed out to her, I kept talking about that elevator scene that is just like a reflection of the elevator scene from the first film, this time with Harley. But the big thing to point out is she has the cut hair and that she's wearing the outfit that Joker finds her, or Arthur finds her when he's on the stairs coming to his home at the end, where she, you know, gives him the goodbye and everything. Because I told Junia, like, it was weird that scene that she still had makeup and was still looking the way she was. Because I can understand cutting of the hair is trying to change the identity and everything and be something new. If she had been more crazy or something where, like, she is embracing Joker's spirit, like she is now Joker or something. I don't know. It just feels like they lost something with her story and the narrative and in the edit. But final thoughts, Ju, and what would you rate it out of 10?
5 out of 10 probably for me.
Damn.
I mean, it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite. I felt bored and underwhelmed in the end, to be honest with you. The best thing about the film, of course, I think Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor, but I really loved seeing Lady Gaga in the role of Harley Quinn. Wish it was actually Harley Quinn, but I don't know. I just felt underwhelmed. I felt very underwhelmed, and there was so much dead space, like we said. Like, I don't know.
Underwhelming is probably the one word to sum it up. I think I'm around a 6, maybe a 7, and that's more because of the performances and the artistry of actually the filmmaking. But
the story was not there.
But the story wasn't there because I just like you. I don't know. I feel like if you just would have done some more between him and her, and connected the dots a little bit more to make a tighter story, because, and I'm even trying to think of how they did the story and stuff in the first film, where you felt like it was a stronger narrative, and
it was like they tried to do too much or something. I don't even know if they tried to do too much. It was like they opened the door for so much, but the payoff was like so little.
I almost wonder if they would have ended this movie back to him sitting in that room from the first one, and he was laughing, and she's like, "Arthur, seriously, what are you laughing about?" And he's like, "You wouldn't get it." And like the whole thing has been in his head from the beginning. I don't know, something, because like that's how the first movie does, is it plays with certain elements. This one, we knew what was in his head
and what wasn't.
Yeah,
there was no surprise or anything like that. Not really.
I mean, it was a twist, if you want to call it that, in the first movie, when you realize that all these dates and all this time he had with that one girl were in his head.
Yeah, and we didn't have any of that in this.
Yeah, and there wasn't that kind of surprise. And then the other thing was the big, like we talked about, the stair scene of them like outside the courthouse dancing. And that feels like a big scene because you have a bunch of extras and everything around to cut that.
To just do that for the trailer just feels weird.
Yeah, it feels like if you cut that, I'm like, I can think of some other things throughout this film to cut, but yeah. Okay, what letter grade will we give it?
We have to do a letter grade?
C+? C+, B-?
I'd go with like a C or C- for me. And the reasoning is, once again, I'm sorry, but majority of the time if I go to see a movie, I'm seeing a movie because I want to see a story.
True.
So if the story is not there for me, that's a pretty big miss, But I like the two characters to a point. So, I don't know. It was weird.
All right.
I like the first one more.
Yeah, so there it is. That's Junia and I's review, discussion of Joker Folie à Deux. Or just what people call Joker 2, because they don't want to speak French.
Correct.
All right, everyone. It's the next day after seeing Joker 2, and I've had time to think a little bit more. And I'm in the car, so this is what I do, right? I did like it, but I think Junia hit it on the head that it is just kind of underwhelming. I didn't have really expectations, but I think where I really find my most frustration with it is more in the Harley Quinn character, because I feel like you had a really talented actress and a really rich character, and you didn't do enough with her. And I feel like I know there are scenes cut, and I'm curious why and what. I never had Todd Phillips up there as, in the DC universe, because he showed in the first movie he really wasn't playing in the DC universe. He was delivering us a film he wanted with the sheen of DC, just enough to use the character names to make money. And I think that's his biggest trick he pulled on everybody. And, Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job. And he finished Arthur's story. And I think it just shows that Arthur had mental health issues. And in the end, thinking like where he says, there is no Joker, there's Arthur. And I'm like, is he trying to say he has... They try in the film to say he has two personalities. One is Arthur, one is Joker. And that Joker was this alternate personality. Which is interesting when you look at the juxtaposition between... They have Harvey Dent as the assistant DA prosecuting. Once again, Harvey Dent, waste of a character name and character. But that's what they're doing in this universe.
I never expected it to be more of a full-on comic book or accurate, so low expectations there. But I'm more looking at, when he says it was just me, Arthur, which comes after he is beaten by the prison guards. And there are 3 prison guards, which I was trying to see, does this kind of mirror the 3 guys that beat him up on the subway, which in a way release the Joker. And in this, the prison guards beat him, and then they end up beating the one kind of guy that's in his cell that's kind of his friend that looks up to him. We hear him get beat up, and I am 99% sure they beat him to death, because we hear, it sounds like the guards talking softly, and this is where watching with captions really helps, because you hear all the whisper details. They think they said something like he's gone or he's not moving or something like that, and Arthur's just listening. And it's after this that triggers Arthur to kind of reveal that he's just Arthur, that Joker really isn't him. And was it all a performance? Was it his, he's mentally unstable, period. And is Arthur Joker, Joker Arthur, I think is the question. But one thing that we did not ever talk on, Junia and I did it, and I want to bring it, is the intro to the way Joker Folie à Deux starts. It starts with a cartoon. And it's interesting because it starts as if we're watching this Joker cartoon before the movie. And it makes me think of old films and old Hollywood, how they would play cartoons before a movie, and they are kind of segueing into almost like a classic movie in a way, like they've labeled it as a musical, but it's not really. And you can look at the prism of this film, much like Harley Quinn in The Suicide Squad, when she does the mass killing breakout, how we're seeing things kind of from her point of view and in her head. But I liked the cartoon. I thought it was interesting. And what does the cartoon say about the film we're about to watch? Because it's called Me and My Shadow. And it's, Joker, Arthur going on stage and doing his show, which is back to the Murray show, which then comes up a couple of times later when it's the Harley and Joker show. It shows, and cartoons are interesting because we see them watching cartoons in their day room there in Arkham State Hospital. We see they're watching Pepe Le Pew, which has significance because it's all about a love-crazed person seeking out a cat who is disguised as a skunk. And in that cartoon, if you look at it, I feel like Harley is Pepe, while Arthur is the female cat who is disguised as the skunk. Because I feel like out of all of them, Harley knows more of who she is. And I feel like that's reference that we don't get, such in the fact that her transformation, I think, into Harley Quinn is supposed to mirror more of Arthur's transformation into the last act of Joker. But that was edited with the scene of her in the elevator, and it's the same scene recreated with the cut hair, and then that's the version that we meet when Arthur comes up the stairs. I really think they were planning something more with her character, and they cut it down. And I think that there was more of a subplot with her that was edited out. She was going through the motions, in a sense, birthing herself to be what Arthur was, because she's mad because he really isn't Joker. And maybe she's trying to assume that I will be Joker, in my own way. So she's kind of going through the same rites of passage that he did. And that's fascinating. And I hate that was taken out. This is the most jumbled review ever because it's segments of thinking. But what does that mean for Arthur? So I feel like that's the bigger conundrum here, is what are they trying to say? And I think that's kind of what this one, where we get lost, is what are we trying to say? Do they tap into the courtroom drama as much as they could? No. Are they trying to say the impact that he had on other people? I think it's there enough when you look at Harley in this film where she goes by Lee. They only say her name one time. They say Harleen Quinzel, and most of the time they just call her Lee. And we see the people that we assume set off the car bomb that actually rescue Arthur there at the end. The one who's in full Joker makeup and style, and the other guy who's wearing the mask from the first film that all the people had. And then of course the guy that, tells the joke that murders Arthur at the end. And it shows like what him doing what he did, what it spawned, and you can look at it as, like Todd Phillips always said, and I think this is kind of his gateway out in a way, is this might be the person that actually inspires the real Joker. And he said that back with the first film, and I think that's kind of what he did here, and it was kind of his way of saying, see, it's the setup that spawns the craziness of Gotham, or starts the anarchy of Gotham. And if that's the case, fine.